when alien guards watched a Deathworlder father lift a car to save his child. The sun was setting on Earth, casting long shadows across the suburban street. To the alien observers stationed in the shadows, this was just another dull evening of passive observation. They were part of a galactic patrol stationed on Earth, a death world, as it was labeled by the Galactic Federation. The planet was notorious for its harsh conditions, unpredictable climates, and, most of all, its dangerous inhabitants, humans. The aliens had heard countless stories about human resilience and their ability to survive impossible situations. They had read reports about humans lifting heavy objects, enduring extreme pain, and surviving the harshest conditions of this deadly world. But the guards had never witnessed anything quite like what was about to unfold. Tonight would change everything. As the two alien guards stood cloaked in their surveillance gear, they observed a human family out for an evening walk. A father, tall and strong, held his young child's hand as they strolled down the sidewalk. The child, maybe 4 or 5 years old, skipped happily, blissfully unaware of the world around them. The alien guards watched with mild interest, their attention waning from the routine observation. Then, in an instant, the serene moment turned to chaos. A car, speeding recklessly down the street, swerved uncontrollably toward the family. The alien sensors detected the rapid acceleration, but it was too late. The car veered off the road, barreling straight toward the child. Time seemed to slow. The father's instincts kicked in. His eyes widened in horror as the car hurtled toward his child. Without thinking, without hesitation, the man dove toward his son, shoving the boy out of the way just in time. But as the father pushed his child to safety, he found himself trapped beneath the car's front bumper, his legs pinned, the weight of the vehicle bearing down on him, crushing him. The aliens watched in shock, their sensors now spiking with readings they had never encountered before. The human father's heart rate skyrocketed, adrenaline flooding his system. His body was being pushed beyond its limits, but not in the way they had anticipated. Instead of succumbing to the weight of the vehicle, the man's muscles tensed with a strength the aliens couldn't comprehend. Groaning with effort, the father began to push against the car. At first, it seemed impossible, the car barely budging under the weight of gravity and metal. But the man's face contorted with raw determination, his teeth clenched as he summoned every ounce of strength he had. The child, now safe on the side of the street, cried out for his father. The sound of his child's voice, desperate and scared, seemed to ignite something deep within the man. With a roar that echoed through the night, the father's muscles bulged, and the car, several tons of solid steel, began to rise. The alien guards couldn't believe what they were seeing. Their sensors were malfunctioning, sending conflicting data. No creature should be able to do what this human was doing. It defied everything they knew about physics, biology, and strength. Yet there it was. The father, a so-called Deathworlder, was lifting the car. With one final heave, the man shoved the car away, rolling it off his legs and collapsing onto the pavement. Gasping for breath, sweat pouring from his body, the father crawled toward his crying child and pulled him into his arms, holding him tightly. The child clung to him, sobbing in relief. The aliens stood frozen, their complex minds struggling to process what they had just witnessed. This was no ordinary species. Humans weren't just resilient, they were something far beyond that. They were driven by emotions, by an unbreakable bond with their offspring, by an instinct to protect that could push them to perform feats that should be impossible. One of the guards spoke in their native tongue, their voice shaky. How did he do that? He shouldn't have been able to. The other alien, equally stunned, responded, I don't know, but the reports weren't exaggerating. These Deathworlders, they are beyond anything we've seen. The alien patrol knew they had witnessed something extraordinary, an event that would change the way the galaxy viewed humanity. They weren't just dangerous because of their planet's harsh conditions or their technology. No, what made humans truly terrifying was their ability to defy all odds when it came to protecting the ones they loved. The patrol sent their report back to the Galactic Federation, and soon, the galaxy would know, humans, these Deathworlders, were not to be underestimated. They were a force driven by love, and that made them the most formidable species the universe had ever known. And so, the legend of the human father who lifted a car to save his child would spread across the stars, a reminder to all alien species that humanity's greatest strength was their heart, their spirit, and their indomitable will. The Galactic Federation, upon receiving the report from the alien guards, was skeptical. They had always considered Earth to be a primitive, albeit dangerous, backwater planet home to beings who were resilient but limited. For centuries, the Federation had compiled data on various species across the universe, cataloging their strengths and weaknesses, calculating their military capabilities, and assessing the potential threats they posed. But nothing, not even the wildest speculations about Deathworlders, had prepared them for this. The story of the father who lifted the car circulated quickly through the ranks of the Federation. Scientists, military strategists, and sociologists all pored over the data, trying to make sense of what had happened. How could a human, one with no enhancements, no technology, summon the strength to defy gravity and physics in such a way? Some speculated it was a biological anomaly. Others believed it was a glitch in the alien guard's recording equipment. But deep down, many began to realize the truth. Humanity's strength was far more than just physical. It was tied to something deeper, something that could not be easily quantified or understood. Meanwhile, on Earth, life returned to normal for the father and his son. The incident, though traumatic, was just another example of what a parent would do to protect their child. The father never thought of himself as a hero. When asked by friends and family about the incident, he would simply shrug and say, "I did what any father would do." But the event had not gone unnoticed by those beyond Earth. Months after the incident, a small, inconspicuous ship landed on the outskirts of a rural area. It bore no markings of its origin, and to any Earthling, it would have appeared as nothing more than a random meteor or satellite falling to the ground. However, this ship carried ambassadors from the Galactic Federation, sent on a covert mission to investigate the humans up close. Disguised in advanced cloaking technology, the aliens set out to observe the family involved in the incident. They wanted to study this human up close to understand how he had done what no other species in the galaxy could. Days turned into weeks as they observed the father in his daily routine. He wasn't a scientist, a soldier, or an athlete. He was just an ordinary man working, caring for his family, playing with his son, and dealing with the mundane challenges of life. The aliens found no evidence of genetic mutations or biological enhancements. They found nothing that explained how a being from a so-called death world could possess such remarkable strength. Frustrated, the Federation ambassadors finally decided to break protocol. They revealed themselves to the human father one evening, stepping out of the shadows as he sat on his porch. The father, startled but not afraid, watched as the shimmering figures materialized before him. They were unlike anything he had seen at all, with elongated limbs and skin that seemed to shift colors in the twilight. "Do not be alarmed," one of the aliens said, their voice echoing in his mind through telepathy. "We are not here to harm you. We come from the Galactic Federation." The father raised an eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. "Galactic Federation? Ha, that's quite something. What do you want with me?" "We have been observing you," the alien continued. "Your kind has demonstrated abilities that defy our understanding. We witnessed you lift an object far beyond the capacity of most species in the universe. We seek to understand how this is possible." The father chuckled softly, shaking his head. "You're talking about the car, right? When I saved my son?" "Yes," the alien replied. "Such strength is unprecedented." The father leaned back, looking up at the stars. "You want to know how I did it? The truth is, I don't know. I just knew my boy was in danger, and there was no time to think. I acted. Maybe it's adrenaline, maybe it's instinct, but I didn't stop to question it. When it comes to my kid, there's nothing I wouldn't do." The aliens exchanged glances, their telepathic communication buzzing between them. "This instinct you speak of," one of them said, "is this common among your people? This ability to act without thought, to defy what should be possible?" The father shrugged. "I guess you could say that. We're a stubborn bunch, especially when it comes to protecting the ones we love. There's nothing more powerful than that." The aliens were silent for a moment, contemplating his words. Love, protection, instinct, these were concepts they understood, but only on an intellectual level. They had never considered them as forces capable of bending reality. "Your species is remarkable," the lead alien finally said. "We have misjudged you. Your strength is not just physical, it comes from something far more profound." The father smiled, looking down at his hands. "I guess you could say that, but really, I'm just a dad trying to keep his kid safe." With that, the aliens disappeared back into the night, their mission complete but their understanding of humanity forever altered. They returned to the Federation with a new message: humanity's true power lay not in their physical abilities, but in their hearts, their capacity for love, sacrifice, and an unyielding will to protect. The story spread throughout the galaxy, becoming more than just a report. It became a legend, a tale of the Deathworlders, not just as dangerous creatures from a harsh world, but as beings capable of extraordinary feats driven by an unstoppable force, the love they had for each other. From then on, the Galactic Federation no longer saw Earth as a simple death world. It was a place of incredible strength, born not from the planet's harsh conditions but from the hearts of its people. And humanity, once overlooked, was now recognized as one of the galaxy's most formidable species, not because of their technology or their biology, but because of something far greater, their spirit. The legend of the Deathworlders grew, spreading far beyond the inner circles of the Galactic Federation. Soon, it reached the edges of the known universe, where warlords and empires took note. They had heard tales of species with formidable technology, advanced weapons, and superior numbers, but none of these had caused the stir that Earth did. What made humans truly dangerous was their unpredictability, their ability to act in ways that defied logic, all for the sake of survival and protection. Whispers of Earth's Deathworlder dads began circulating among soldiers, mercenaries, and bounty hunters. Many refused to believe that such strength and determination could come from a species that looked so unassuming. Humans, after all, were small in comparison to the towering aliens of the galaxy, and their home planet was seen as a rough, unforgiving world. Yet, despite all the odds, these Deathworlders had a reputation for feats that no other species could match. It wasn't long before curiosity turned into action. Alien warlords, intrigued by the stories, sought to test humanity's resilience firsthand. Raiding parties targeted human settlements on fringe planets, thinking they would easily overpower the scattered colonies. But time and time again, the humans fought back with a tenacity that left the invaders stunned. On the edge of a small human colony on the moon of Terra 3, an alien force known as the Vortak clan launched an attack. Their technology was advanced, and their soldiers were trained in combat tactics that had defeated dozens of other species. They expected little resistance from the small group of human settlers. What they didn't expect was for the colony's leader, a father of three, to rally the settlers in a way that defied their understanding. As the Vortak soldiers descended upon the colony, the settlers didn't retreat or hide. Instead, they armed themselves with what little they had: tools, old mining equipment, and makeshift weapons. The leader, a man named Daniel, stood at the front of the line, his eyes locked on the incoming ships. His children watched from the safety of a bunker, fear gripping their hearts, but Daniel's resolve never wavered. He had seen what was at stake: his family, his community, and everything they had built on this distant moon. "Let them come," Daniel said, his voice calm but firm. "We're not going down without a fight." As the Vortak soldiers disembarked, towering over the humans, they were met with something they had never encountered before. These Deathworlders, with no formal military training or advanced weaponry, fought with a ferocity that sent the Vortak into disarray. Daniel, armed with nothing more than a modified mining tool, led the charge. He tore through the enemy ranks, his strength fueled by a primal need to protect his children and his home. The Vortak were used to fear tactics, intimidation, and overwhelming force, but they had never faced a father fighting for his children's lives. By the end of the battle, the Vortak had retreated, their once unshakable confidence shattered. They had lost to a group of settlers, led by a man whose only motivation was the love he had for his family. Word of Daniel's victory spread quickly, reaching the farthest corners of the galaxy. His name became synonymous with the term Deathworlder, a symbol of humanity's unyielding will. The Galactic Federation could no longer ignore the growing tales of human resilience. Diplomatic channels opened, and soon, human representatives were invited to the Federation's high councils. No longer viewed as a simple backwater species, humanity now had a seat at the table of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. But with this newfound attention came scrutiny. Other species, wary of humanity's rising influence, sought to understand what made them so formidable. Scientific studies were conducted on human physiology, but the results were inconclusive. Humans, by all accounts, were not significantly stronger or faster than many other species. Their strength, it seemed, lay in something far less tangible. The Federation's top psychologists and sociologists theorized that it was humanity's unique relationship with their emotions that set them apart. Their ability to feel deep connections, love, fear, hope, and rage drove them to do the impossible. It wasn't just their physical capabilities that made them dangerous, it was their capacity to push beyond their limits when their loved ones were at risk. In the years that followed, Earth became known not just as a death world, but as the ultimate training ground for resilience and survival. Galactic academies began to study human behavior, hoping to understand and perhaps replicate their indomitable spirit. But no matter how much research was done, one truth remained: there was something about humanity that couldn't be explained by data or science. It was a fire, an unbreakable will, that burned within them, a force that couldn't be measured or predicted. And so, the galaxy learned to respect, even fear, the Deathworlders, for they knew that when a human's loved ones were in danger, there was no force in the universe that could stand in their way. Back on Earth, life continued as it always had. Fathers tucked their children into bed, mothers watched over their families, and everyday people went about their lives, unaware of the growing legend they had become in the galaxy. But those who had seen it firsthand, the alien guards, the soldiers, the diplomats, they knew the truth. Humanity was not to be underestimated. They were not just survivors of a dangerous world, they were the champions of it. And as long as they had something to protect, there was no force in the galaxy that could stop them. The alien warlords who had once underestimated humanity now respected their strength, both physical and emotional. Mercenary commanders whispered of human stubbornness in battle, and even the most battle-hardened warriors thought twice before engaging a human colony. Diplomats, too, spoke with reverence when discussing human resolve, aware that beneath their diplomatic calm lay a species capable of unimaginable feats when pushed to their limits. One day, a council of Federation leaders gathered on a neutral planet to discuss the growing human presence. A representative of the Vortak clan, still smarting from their defeat on Terra 3, addressed the assembly with bitterness. "They are a danger to us all," the Vortak leader growled. "Their unpredictable nature makes them impossible to control. How can we trust a species that would defy the laws of physics for the sake of their offspring?" The other representatives exchanged uneasy glances. There was truth in the Vortak's words, but there was also something more, something that many of them had come to admire in the humans. It wasn't just their strength that set them apart, it was their loyalty, their fierce determination to protect those they loved. A resolve like that could not be bought, bargained with, or intimidated. The leader of the Federation, a towering, ancient species known for their wisdom, spoke up at last. "Humans are dangerous," the leader agreed, their voice calm and steady, "but they are dangerous because they care. They fight not for conquest, not for power, but for each other. And that is something we cannot measure or predict. It is something we must learn from." The council murmured in agreement, the tension easing as they acknowledged this truth. Humanity's unpredictability was not a flaw, it was their strength. And in that strength, the galaxy saw both risk and opportunity. Back on Earth, Daniel, the father who had once lifted a car to save his child, continued his life much as he had before. His children grew, the colony thrived, and the scars of the battle against the Vortak began to fade from the landscape. But every now and then, visitors from distant worlds would come to Terra 3, drawn by the stories of the Deathworlder dad. They would approach Daniel with awe in their eyes, asking him to recount the day he had defied the odds, hoping to catch a glimpse of the human spirit that had shaken the galaxy. Daniel would smile, modest as ever, and tell them the same thing every time. "I didn't do anything special, I just did what any father would do." And in that simple statement lay the heart of humanity, the unshakable will to protect, the courage to stand up against impossible odds, and the power to inspire an entire galaxy. For the legend of the Deathworlders was not just about strength or survival, it was about the love and determination that made humans capable of miracles. As long as there were humans in the galaxy, their indomitable spirit would continue to burn bright, a force more powerful than any weapon, more lasting than any empire. And that, above all, was what the galaxy had come to respect and fear. As time went on, the stories of Earth's Deathworlders solidified into myth, each new tale more incredible than the last. The Galactic Federation's records grew thick with accounts of human fathers lifting impossible weights to save their children, mothers leading daring rescues, and entire colonies rising up to defend their homes against far superior foes. These stories echoed across star systems, passed on as cautionary tales or sources of inspiration, depending on the listener's perspective.